Our next speaker is Micaela Tracey-Ramos. Micaela is the NEC member for Young Members and is Unison's national representative on the executive of both the Cuba Solidarity and Palestine Solidarity campaigns. Micaela.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Liberation, for inviting me to this. So I wanted to start with, under our current system that we live in global capitalism, working people are offered nothing more than a world that is embroiled in open war, leading to further deaths, destruction, displacement, and the danger of increased regional conflict, particularly with the ongoing Israeli genocide in Gaza, which has seen tens of thousands of people killed and the entire population starved, hospitals targeted, healthcare workers targeted, and the imminent ground invasion. While working people in Britain have been out demonstrating for a ceasefire in Gaza, the overwhelming people in Britain seek peaceful solutions to global conflicts. These are not reflected in the actions of the government or the Labour opposition, which has not only openly politically supported Israel, but has materially supported them through military equipment, intelligence, and ships. To understand British complicity in the ongoing genocide in Gaza and the illegal occupation of Palestinian land, we must understand the British state's policy in Palestine historically. In 1917, the Balfour Declaration, which has cast a long shadow over many years of British complicity in Israeli apartheid, the act of the Balfour Declaration was a statement in support for the establishment of a Jewish homeland in Palestine. At the time, this document didn't have any legal foundation, and British diplomats were making different pledges to Arab leaders and other imperialists. Most important to remember that at the heart of the government at the time's policy towards Palestine, they were not concerned with Zionism, a then minority trend amongst Jewish Europeans, but with British imperial interests. It is clear that the 1917 Declaration, which by many today is reviewed on its impact on the Palestinian people worldwide, was part of a plan to maintain London's strategic economic hegemony in an important part of the world, the Middle East. It's important to remember this context, as it was the British imperialist interests in the Middle East which led to the alliance with the Zionists. It is clear then that the mandate was a matter of colonialism, and the British support of Israel's illegal occupation of the Palestinian territories today is still of that mindset of racist colonialism, and Britain have been materially and politically supporting Israel. Today, Britain are complicit in the genocide in Gaza, and even the International Criminal Court is seeking to investigate Benjamin Netanyahu's accomplices in our government. Britain for months have been materially assisting Israel in its genocide in Gaza in three main ways. Britain have been providing arms to Israel. Declassified UK shows that the court documents that were filed in January this year that saw the British government had 28 extant and 28 pending high-risk licenses with Israel marked as most likely to be used in IDF offences in Gaza. Later that month, 4 British aid workers were injured in an airstrike carried out by an F-16 jet, which components have been supplied by British companies. Still, Britain continues to arm Israel and reject the calls to suspend arms with them. Secondly, our military are training Israeli armed force personnel here in Britain during a genocide. The government admitted that Israel is represented by armed forces personnel in the embassy in the UK and as participants in UK defence-led training courses. Thirdly, and less widely spoken about, is the UK military are conducting spy flights over Gaza and in support of Israel. Over 200 surveillance missions have been undertaken. None of this activity has been used to halt Israel's attacks on the Palestinians. Their support also extends to strong political support, echoing Israel's security and right to defend itself. One must ask, do they really think the British public so stupid that we believe this is why they lend unmoving support to Israel? But why is Britain continually supporting Israel with no qualifications or ends to its support? The answer is one of British imperialism in the region, but more importantly, Britain as a subordinate of the US and the British foreign policy dictated to us by Washington and through NATO. It is in the US interest to have a state which acts as its proxy in the Middle East, an important region with its oil reserves and superpower hegemonic influence. Israel itself is the largest cumulative recipient of US foreign aid post-World War II, and in 2016, Barack Obama signed a defense agreement with Israel providing $38 billion of US military support for over 10 years. Before I touched on the establishment of the Israeli state being a matter of colonialism, however, the idea that it can be undone will get us nowhere in terms of the freedom and liberation of Palestinian people. Unison itself stands for a two-state solution in Palestine and Israel, which is predicated upon the pre-1967 UN borders and the right of return for Palestinians to their homeland. The Palestinian leadership call for a two-state solution as a solutional step towards the liberation of the Palestinian people. The reason that I mention this is that the one-state argument has become prevalent amongst those campaigning in the wider Palestine solidarity movement, usually forgetting the important demand which is campaigning for Britain to recognise an independent Palestinian state with East Jerusalem as the capital and for Palestinian sovereignty and lasting peace. The recognition of Palestine at an international level, being led by China, has placed the argument for Palestinian sovereignty back on the map. It's important that we continue this demand to any incoming government for the Palestinian statehood, and it should be at the forefront of our campaigning. Whilst Britain denied Palestinians their inalienable right to sovereignty by giving Israel veto power over the Palestinian people's right to self-determination and statehood, this needs to be central to any demands of any incoming Labour government, and I hope my union continues to put pressure on any Labour government for this. We need to develop our understanding in the wider movement of imperialism in the Palestine solidarity movement and in the Labour movement. We need to continue to campaign against the occupation, campaign for an end to the genocide, a ceasefire in Gaza, and demand of any incoming government to recognise a Palestinian state. And we need to halt all arms sales to Israel. Thank you.